You do not have a trading problem. I know that is not what you want to hear. You have been at this for 2 years, maybe longer. You have bought the courses, you have watched hundreds of hours of content. You have back-tested strategies, drawn trend lines, studied candlestick patterns until your eyes bled, and you are still losing money. So you came here looking for the thing you were missing, the indicator, the strategy, the one piece of knowledge that will finally make it all click. But I am going to tell you something that might upset you. You are not missing anything. You already know enough to be profitable. The reason you are still losing after 2 years has nothing to do with knowledge. It has everything to do with a commitment you have never actually made. Let me explain what I mean. Think about what the last 2 years have actually looked like. Be honest with yourself right now. You found a strategy, you got excited about it, you tested it, maybe on a demo account, maybe with a small amount of real money. It worked for a few trades. You felt that rush. You thought, this is it, this is the one. Then you hit a losing streak. 3 losses in a row, 4, 5, and something shifted inside you. A voice started whispering, maybe this strategy does not work. Maybe I need something better. Maybe that other approach I saw on YouTube last week is the real answer. So you abandoned the strategy, you moved on to the next one, and the cycle started all over again. How many times has this happened? 5 times? 10? 20? Every single time you told yourself you were making a rational decision. You told yourself you were improving, evolving, refining your edge. But you were not doing any of those things. You were running. You were running from the discomfort of loss. You were running from the uncertainty that every single trade carries. And the running is what has kept you exactly where you started. I have seen this pattern in thousands of traders. And I can tell you with absolute certainty that it is the #1 reason people fail after years of studying the markets. It is not stupidity. Most traders I have worked with are sharp, analytical, driven people. They succeed in other areas of life. They are engineers, doctors, business owners, people who know how to learn and apply knowledge. And that is precisely the problem. Because trading is the one arena where more knowledge does not automatically produce better results. Let me reframe this for you because it is critical that you understand it at a deep level. In every other skill you have ever developed, the path was linear. You studied, you practiced, you got better. More effort produced more results. If you wanted to get better at accounting, you studied accounting. If you wanted to get better at coding, you wrote more code. The feedback loop was direct and reliable. Effort in, results out. Your entire life has trained you to believe that the solution to any problem is to learn more and try harder. Trading does not work this way. And the fact that you have been at this for 2 years and you are still losing is proof you have already done the learning. You understand support and resistance. You know what a moving average does. You can identify a trend. You have a strategy that, on paper, has a statistical edge. The information is there. What is not there is the ability to execute that information consistently, trade after trade, without interference from your emotions, your ego, and your survival instincts. This is the lie you have been told. You have been told that profitability is a knowledge problem, that somewhere out there is a better strategy, a more accurate indicator, a more refined entry technique, and once you find it, the money will flow. But the truth is this: profitability is a behavioral problem, it is an execution problem, it is a consistency problem, and no amount of new information will solve it. Only a fundamental change in how you approach every single trade will solve it. So let me give you the framework. And I want to be very specific, because vague advice is useless advice. I am going to walk you through exactly what you need to do starting tomorrow morning to break the cycle you have been stuck in. The first thing you must do is commit to a single strategy for 100 trades. I mean this with absolute seriousness. One strategy, 100 trades. No modifications, no optimizations, no switching. You pick the strategy you believe has an edge, and you trade it 100 times without changing a single parameter. Now I know what you are thinking. You are thinking, but what if the strategy is not working? What if I lose money during those 100 trades? And this is exactly the problem. You are evaluating a strategy based on 5 trades, 10 trades, 20 trades. That is not a sample size, that is noise. You would never look at 20 coin flips and conclude that the coin is broken because it came up heads 12 times. But that is exactly what you do with your trading strategy. You hit a small cluster of losses and you panic. You abandon ship. And then you start over with a new strategy that you will also abandon in 20 trades. 100 trades. That is the minimum sample size where a statistical edge begins to reveal itself. Anything less than that, and you are making decisions based on randomness. You are reacting to noise as if it were signal. And every time you switch strategies because of a small losing streak, you reset the clock. You go back to zero. You never give any approach enough time to prove itself. This is non-negotiable. If you cannot commit to 100 trades with a single approach, you are not serious about trading. You are serious about searching for trading. Those are two very different things. Let me be very specific about how this works. Before you begin, write down the exact rules of your strategy. Entry criteria, exit criteria, stop loss placement, take profit level. The conditions under which you take a trade and the conditions under which you do not. Write it down on paper, not in your head, on paper. Then number your trades. Trade 1, trade 2, trade 3, all the way to 100. After each trade record, whether you followed the rules, not whether the trade won or lost, whether you followed the rules, this is the second commitment, and it might be the most important thing I will say in this entire video. You must separate the quality of your decision from the outcome of the trade. Let me say that again because it is the single most transformative shift a trader can make. The quality of your decision has nothing to do with the outcome of the trade. A perfect trade can lose money. A terrible trade can make money. On any single trade, the outcome is random. It is only over a large sample that the edge reveals itself. So when you journal your trades, the only question that matters is this: did I follow my rules, yes or no? If the answer is yes, and the trade lost money, that is a good trade. Write it down. Move on. If the answer is no, and the trade made money, that is a bad trade. And it is more dangerous than a loss, because it reinforced the wrong behavior. It taught your brain that breaking the rules gets rewarded, and that lesson will cost you everything over time. I know what you are thinking right now. You are thinking, this sounds too simple. You are thinking there has to be more to it than this. And that reaction, that need for complexity, is itself the problem. Your brain craves complexity because complexity feels like progress. Learning a new indicator feels productive. Tweaking your strategy feels like improvement. But it is an illusion. It is intellectual busywork that keeps you from confronting the real issue, which is your inability to do the same boring thing over and over again without emotional interference. The third thing you must commit to is fixed risk. Every trade, the same percentage of your account. I recommend 1%. And I mean 1% with zero exceptions. Not 1% most of the time. Not 1% unless you feel really confident about this setup. 1% every trade, every day, no matter what. Let me explain why this matters psychologically. When you vary your risk, when you put more money on the trades you feel confident about and less on the ones you are unsure of, you are making a statement. You are saying, I know which trades will win and which will lose. But you do not know that. Nobody knows that. The entire foundation of profitable trading is the acceptance that you do not know what will happen on the next trade. You do not know what will happen on the next trade. I will say that a third time because it needs to become part of your operating system. You do not know what will happen on the next trade. Fixed risk is not just a money management technique. It is a psychological commitment to uncertainty. It is you telling your brain every single day that no trade is more special than any other trade. That every trade is simply one iteration in a long series. And when you internalize that, something remarkable happens. The emotional charge drains out of your trading. Losses stop feeling like personal failures. Wins stop feeling like validation. Each trade becomes what it actually is, a data point, nothing more. Here is what your daily practice looks like. I want to be very specific so there is no ambiguity. Before the market opens, you sit down for 10 minutes, you review your strategy rules, not to learn them, you already know them, to prime your brain. You read them out loud if you need to. Then you write one sentence. Today, I will follow my rules regardless of the outcome. That is your pre-market ritual. It takes 5 minutes, and it is more valuable than any technical analysis you will ever do. During the trading session, you execute your strategy. When a setup appears, you take it. When it does not appear, you do nothing. You do not force trades. You do not invent setups. You do not talk yourself into trades that almost meet your criteria. Almost is not yes. Almost is no. If the setup is there, you take it with your fixed 1% risk. If the setup is not there, you close the charts and walk away. After the session, you open your journal, and you answer 5 questions for each trade you took. 1. Did I follow my entry rules? 2. Did I follow my exit rules? 3. Did I risk exactly 1%? 4. What was I feeling when I entered the trade? 5. What was I feeling when I exited the trade? That is it, those 5 questions. Every trade. Notice that none of those questions ask how much money you made or lost. That is deliberate. Because for the next 100 trades, profit and loss is irrelevant. The only metric that matters is your execution percentage. How many of your trades were executed according to your rules? If you followed your rules on 90 out of 100 trades, you are becoming a professional. If you followed them on 50 out of 100, you have work to do. But at least now you know exactly where the problem is. It is not your strategy, it is your execution. And execution can be improved. Now let me talk about the moment that will test you the most, because it will come. Somewhere around trade 20 or trade 30, you will hit a losing streak. Maybe 5 losses in a row, maybe 7. Your account will be down. Your confidence will be shaking, and every instinct in your body will scream at you to do something different. Change the strategy. Increase your risk to make it back. Skip the next trade because you are scared. Take a trade that is not in your plan because you are desperate. This is the moment. This is the entire game. Everything I have been telling you comes down to this single moment. Because what you do here determines whether you will ever become a profitable trader or whether you will spend the next 2 years exactly where you spent the last 2. When that moment comes, and it will come, you must do nothing different. You take the next trade according to your rules. You risk 1%. You write it in your journal, and you move on. That is it. No drama, no emotion, no adjustment. The losing streak is not evidence that your strategy is broken. It is evidence that you are trading in a probabilistic environment where losses are a natural, inevitable, and permanent part of the process. I have worked with traders who were on the verge of quitting. They had been losing for years. They felt broken, and the only thing that changed was this. They committed to the process I just described. 1 strategy, 100 trades, fixed risk, 5 journal questions, no modifications. Within 6 months, their results transformed. Not because they learned something new, but because they finally stopped sabotaging what they already knew. Let me paint a picture for you. 6 months from now, if you commit to this framework, here is what your trading looks like. You wake up, you review your rules, you sit down at your charts. A setup appears. You take it without hesitation, without excitement, without fear. It is just the next trade. It wins or it loses. You record it, you answer your 5 questions, you close the charts, you go live your life. The next day, you do it again, and the day after that, and the day after that. It is boring, it is repetitive, it feels like nothing is happening, and that is exactly how you know it is working, because exciting trading is losing trading. The thrill you used to feel, the rush of a big win, the panic of a big loss, those emotions were symptoms of a disordered relationship with uncertainty. When trading becomes boring, it means you have finally accepted what the market has been trying to teach you from the very first day. You do not control the outcome. You only control the process. So here is your commitment. 1. Pick a single strategy and commit to 100 trades with 0 modifications. 2. Risk exactly 1% on every trade with no exceptions. 3. Journal every trade with the 5 questions I gave you, focusing only on execution, never on profit and loss. 4. Complete your pre-market ritual every single day. 5. When the losing streak comes, change nothing. Execute the next trade according to your rules. Do these 5 things for the next 100 trades. Not 50, not 75, 100. And I promise you, something will shift. Not in the markets. In you. You will stop being the trader who knows everything and executes nothing. You will become the trader who knows enough and executes flawlessly. You came here today because you thought you were missing something. You are not missing anything. You have been carrying the answer with you for 2 years. You just have not had the discipline to sit still long enough to use it. The strategy was never the problem. Your relationship with the strategy was the problem. Fix the relationship. Fix the trading. It really is that simple. And the fact that it is simple is what makes it so brutally difficult. Stop searching. Start executing. 1 trade at a time. 1% at a time. 100 trades. That is all that stands between you and the trader you have been trying to become for the last 2 years. The only question is whether you are finally willing to commit.